All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Looks like we've got a pretty hefty stack of sources here, all about crafting in the new D&D 5e rules.
2024 edition, to be precise.
That's right, 2024 edition. So we're talking videos, we've got rules excerpts, the whole shebang. And we really want to figure out, what's changed? What does it mean for our games? I mean, maybe you're prepping a campaign or just...
Well, maybe you're just curious about how crafting works in this shiny new edition.
Exactly.
So either way, buckle up, because we're about to dive in deep.
Yeah, and one thing that just jumps out at me right away is like how much more accessible and streamlined crafting feels.
Oh, for sure.
For both players and DMs, right?
Absolutely. I mean, remember those old, vague, gold per day progress rules? Like trying to figure out how long it took to craft something was like deciphering an ancient riddle.
It was so confusing. But now...
It was, but now crafting's directly tied to an item's cost, which, it makes the whole process just...
so much easier.
Way easier to calculate, way easier to understand.
So break it down for me.
Yeah.
Mundane crafting, no more like arbitrary gold increments.
Ignore that. The new system's beautifully simple. Take the item's gold cost, divide it by 10, and boom. That's how many days it takes to craft.
So, let's say my stalwart fighter wants to craft a classic suit of plate armor.
Okay.
Which, typically costs 1,500 gold pieces.
That would take them a cool 150 days to craft.
There you go.
Easy peasy.
Simple, straightforward.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't just wave your hands and make a suit of plate armor appear.
You can't just poof it into
Yeah,
existence.
materials, right?
You need those raw materials.
Right.
This is where it gets interesting. Raw materials always cost half the price of the finished item.
Okay, so for our plate armor, that's 750 gold worth of metal.
Yep.
Leather, buckles, all that good stuff.
All those bits and pieces. And you know where this gets really fun? This is where the DM, the dungeon master, they come in. The rules give them the power to decide how easy or how hard it is to actually get those materials.
Oh, okay. So finding iron for a basic sword might be pretty easy in a city, right?
Yeah, probably in a bustling city, you could find that, no problem. But what if your party's out there in the wilds? What if they're trekking through, I don't know, a monster-infested swamp?
Yeah, where do you even find...
Where are you going to find the iron for that sword?
Right.
It's up to the DM. They might say, you know what? Iron, super scarce in this swamp. You're going to have to get creative.
Yeah.
You might have to hunt down some specific creatures that have, iron in their diet or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Or maybe they have to go on a whole side quest to find, a lost mine.
Oh, that's cool. So it really makes it a lot more...
It makes it dynamic.
Yeah.
It's not just, I go to the shop, I buy whatever I want.
It's like an actual part of the game world now.
It's integrated into the world.
Yeah, and speaking of being integrated, I think one of the coolest things with the 2024 rules is tools aren't just flavor text anymore, right?
Tools are back, baby.
Yeah.
And they are not messing around. Every single tool in the game now has a specific list of things that you can craft with it.
That's awesome. So choosing which tools you're proficient in,
It matters.
it's a big choice now.
It matters big time because it means that your character's background, their skills, all of that stuff, it directly impacts what they can actually make in the world.
I love that. So all right, let's say I've got this rogue here, right?
Yeah.
And he's got a little bit of an alchemist side hustle going on, right?
Okay, I like it.
Proficient with alchemist supplies.
Yeah.
What kind of crazy stuff can he cook up?
Oh, they can cook up all sorts of good stuff. They're not just limited to basic potions. The rules specifically say, with alchemist supplies, you can craft acids, you can craft alchemist's fire, oils, even perfumes.
That's so cool. So it's like a whole portable chemistry set.
They're like a walking, talking chemistry set ready to experiment.
I love that. What about other tools? What if I have a character with leatherworking tools?
Yeah. Leatherworking tools. You're looking at crafting armor, boots, backpacks, all that good stuff. Each tool, it has its own little unique list, which I think is really cool. It adds a sense of realism and depth to the whole crafting system.
Yeah, and it really encourages specialization too, right? You could really lean into...
Oh, absolutely. You could be the master leatherworker, the armor extraordinaire.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Now, here's the thing, right? Crafting time, it doesn't always mean complexity, right?
Yeah, good point.
Some items, even if they seem simple, they can take a surprisingly long time to make. Give me an example. What's something that might take longer than you'd expect?
All right, let's say your party is you know what? We need a spyglass. Seems simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But to craft a spyglass, you need proficiency with glassblower's tools. And guess how long it takes to craft a spyglass?
A week.
100 days.
What? 100 days.
That's longer than some weapons and armor. It is. Which just goes to show that some items, even if they seem simple on the surface, they might have all these intricate steps and processes that go into making them.
Yeah, it really makes you appreciate the craft.
Exactly.
Now, before we jump into magic item crafting, we got to talk about two special cases. Potions and scrolls.
Yeah.
Because they actually have their own, unique crafting rules that are outlined in the player's handbook.
And the fact that they have their own dedicated rules, I think it tells us something. It tells us that these are considered common, they're considered important enough to have a more streamlined crafting process.
Oh, that's cool. So potions and scrolls are, readily available.
They're more accessible, yeah.
For players to craft, which is awesome.
It's a good thing.
So let's start with potions. How does that work?
Okay, for potions of healing, it's wonderfully straightforward. You need an herbalism kit, you need 25 gold worth of materials, and boom, you can brew up a potion in a single day.
That's pretty good.
Right. Especially for those parties that are out there, delving into dungeons, battling those fierce monsters. You need a steady supply of healing potions.
You got to keep those hit points up.
Gotta keep those hit points topped off, and this makes it easier. You don't have to rely on finding potions as loot. You don't have to haggle with some shady merchant.
Right.
You can be self-sufficient healers, which I think is awesome.
So potion crafting is pretty simple. What about scrolls?
All right, so for scrolls, you've got two options. You either need proficiency in Arcana, or you need proficiency with calligrapher's tools. And of course, you need to know the spell you're trying to scribe.
Right.
And have prepared that day.
So a wizard who wants to make a scroll of fireball needs to have that spell prepped.
Absolutely, they need to have it ready to go.
So what about cost and time for scrolls?
All right, so a first level spell scroll, something like Shield or maybe the ever-popular Silvery Barbs.
Oh, yeah. So
Only takes 1 day to craft.
Really?
And 25 gold.
That's awesome. Especially because the 2024 rules, right, they limit you to 1 spell per turn. So score.
And give you a way to bypass that restriction.
They give you options.
They give you options.
I love it. It's really cool.
And let's not forget about those races that have those shorter rest times, like elves.
Oh, yeah.
Elves, they can squeeze in some scroll crafting even on a busy adventuring day. You can imagine an elf mage. They're nimble. They've got their quiver full of scrolls that they just scribed, ready to tackle any encounter.
I love that image. It's
Yeah.
really cool. So it seems like these new rules really, really open up a lot of possibilities for players.
Oh, yeah,
Both in terms of building their characters and just playing the game strategically.
absolutely. And I think we've just scratched the surface here. Things get even more exciting when we start talking about magic items.
Oh, yeah. And that is where we will pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
Stay tuned. All right, so let's talk magic items. I mean, getting your hands on a magic item in D&D, that's always a special moment.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
See, time.
And-
Can you imagine crafting one yourself, imbuing it with your own arcane energy?
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
We talked about mundane crafting, potions, scrolls,
Yeah.
magic items.
The magic item.
Those are the crown jewels, right?
They're the real deal.
Of any adventurer's toolkit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is the 2024 rules, they actually give us a pretty solid framework for crafting magic items. It's detailed, it's exciting, but it's definitely a step up in terms of complexity. You're going to need, a deeper understanding of the arcane arts to really get this right.
So it's not just gathering some materials and hammering away at the forge.
Not quite. There are a few key prerequisites you've got to meet before you can even think about crafting a magic item.
Okay, prerequisites. What do I got to have on my character sheet to even consider crafting some magical goodness?
All right, so first and foremost, and this is probably the most important thing, you got to have proficiency in Arcana. That represents your character's understanding of magic,
Yeah.
how it works, how to manipulate it, all that good stuff.
So no matter what your class is.
It doesn't matter if you're a wizard, a rogue who's dabbled in some arcane stuff, maybe even a fighter who's picked up a few tricks.
Yeah.
If you want to craft magic items,
Yeah.
Arcane proficiency is non-negotiable.
It's the key, right?
It's the key. It unlocks the door to magical crafting.
But knowledge alone isn't enough.
Right.
You need the right tool.
You need the right tools for the job. And we're not talking about just any old hammer. We're talking about specific tools.
Yeah.
The Dungeon Master's Guide actually has a whole table dedicated to this. It's called Magic Item Tools.
Okay.
And it tells you exactly which tools you need for each category of magic item.
So if I'm dreaming of crafting a legendary sword,
Yeah.
I better make sure I've got those Smith's tools proficiency.
Smith's tools, absolutely. Or, if you're a potion brewer,
Right.
you're that alchemist, you want to make those potent elixirs.
Yeah.
You're going to need proficiency with either alchemist supplies or herbalism kit.
Makes sense. You wouldn't want, like, a carpenter trying to make magic armor.
Exactly. It wouldn't end well, probably. Each tool represents a specialized skill set
Yeah.
that's crucial for crafting specific types of magic items.
So you got to specialize.
You gotta specialize.
And here's something that I find really interesting. Like in the 2024 rules, right? Every background grants you at least one tool proficiency.
Oh yeah, that's true.
What do you think about that? Like,
I think it's pretty clever. I think it's a subtle way for the designers to encourage crafting
yeah.
across all sorts of character backgrounds.
So it's not just the classically crafty background.
It's not just, the blacksmith or the alchemist. Like even a noble, right?
Right.
If they've got proficiency in calligrapher's tools,
They could dabble in some spell scrolls.
we could dabble in scroll crafting, maybe preserve some family secrets, create some magical messages. It's pretty cool.
Or like a soldier, right? Who has leatherworking tools. They could
Oh, yeah.
make enchanted armor with like the spirits of their fallen comrades or something like that.
That's awesome. It's really cool. It opens up crafting to everyone.
It makes it a bigger part of the game.
Makes it more integral. And it encourages players to think, like, how does my background, even if it doesn't seem related to crafting at first glance, how can I use that to create cool items?
Yeah, it's awesome. So we've got Arcana proficiency, we've got the right tools. Are there any other prerequisites for like crafting magic items?
Yeah, there's one more, and this is particularly important for those magic items that involve spells. So, if the item lets you cast a spell, like let's say a wand of fireballs or a staff of healing,
Right.
you need to know that spell. And not only do you need to know it, you need to have it prepared every single day you're working on crafting that item.
So it's not just having it in your spellbook.
Nope. It's got to be actively prepared. It's got to be ready to cast.
So a wizard that wants to craft a wand of cure wounds, they might need to get a little creative with their spell prep.
They might need to swap some things out. Or maybe consider multi-classing, dip into cleric or something to get access to those spells.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's all about, it really emphasizes that connection between your character's knowledge, their prepared spells, and the items they create.
So it's not just following a recipe, right?
No, it's deeper than that. It's about understanding magic, the specific magic you're trying to imbue into that item.
Okay, so we've got our prerequisites, Arcana proficiency, the right tools, knowing the spells. Now let's talk about timelines and budgets.
Yeah.
How long does it take to craft a magic item? And how much gold are we talking?
Well, just like with tools, the Dungeon Master's Guide has got us covered. It has a handy-dandy table that breaks down crafting time and cost based on item rarity.
Okay.
So, common, uncommon, rare, all the way up to legendary.
So like a basic magic item, like a potion of healing, that'd be considered common.
That would be common.
And then like a legendary artifact would be, well, legendary.
Legendary. And the time and cost, they scale up accordingly. But the good news is, the raw material cost for crafting a magic item, it's actually half the price of buying it outright.
That makes sense. You're providing the base components, you're putting in the magical work.
You're putting in the expertise, exactly. So, if a rare magic item costs, let's say, 4,000 gold to buy, you only need 2,000 gold worth of raw materials to craft it.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
Not bad at all. But here's where it differs from mundane crafting. With mundane crafting, remember, the time was directly tied to the gold cost. With magic items, it's a fixed number of days based on the rarity.
So a common magic item takes a set amount of time to craft, regardless of its cost.
That's right. So a common magic item takes 5 days, uncommon 10 days, rare 50 days, and so on.
And just like with mundane crafting, you can still get those assistants to help you out.
Oh, absolutely. Those skilled helpers, they can shave off a lot of time, let you get your hands on that shiny new magic item much quicker.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now there's a little bonus for those who want to craft consumables.
Right.
Except for scrolls. Their crafting time and cost are both halved.
It's a nice little perk. It makes it even more appealing to craft those consumables, especially those things that are inherently temporary. Like potions, alchemical concoctions, things like that.
Makes sense. You're putting in less time, less resources for something that's not going to last forever.
Exactly. But even if you've got all the prerequisites, you've got the materials, you've got the time, you can't just automatically create a magic item.
Right.
The DM still plays a crucial role.
They still have the final say.
They have the final say. It's not just about checking boxes on a crafting list.
It's about the world, right?
It's about the world. The DM is the ultimate arbiter of what is and is not possible in their world.
So they decide if you can even find those materials.
Especially when it comes to those really rare or exotic components. Like if you need something super special for a powerful magic item, it's up to the DM to decide if you can even get your hands on that stuff.
And the rules give us some guidelines, right?
Yeah, they do. They give us some nice guidelines. Like in a city, there's a 75% chance of finding the materials you need. But out in those smaller settlements, it drops down to 25%.
Oh, wow.
So it gives the DM a lot of control over the flow of magic items in the campaign.
Right, you don't want everyone just walking around with legendary items.
Exactly. You don't want every player character to just be like, oh yeah, I crafted this legendary sword in my downtime. It needs to feel special.
They have to be earned.
It has to be earned. And it also lets the DM tailor the crafting experience to their setting. Like, what if your campaign is set in a world that's been ravaged by war?
Yeah.
Magic materials might be super scarce. So crafting, it's going to be a really tough but very rewarding endeavor.
Yeah, or like, what if it's set in like a prosperous magical academy
Oh, that'd be cool.
where resources are plentiful?
Yeah.
That could encourage like experimentation.
Oh, that would be awesome. Encourage people to push the boundaries, create all sorts of cool new stuff.
It all comes down to the DM and their vision, right?
Their vision and how they want to use crafting in the narrative.
Now, here's where things get a little interesting and also a little frustrating. The source material points out a bit of a gap in the crafting rules. There's nothing about using monster parts.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. That's a big one. I mean, players love collecting trophies, right?
They love it.
Dragon scales, troll teeth,
Beholder stalks.
beholder eye stalks, the possibilities are endless. But the rules, they kind of leave us hanging on this one.
Yeah, I think that's a missed opportunity, especially with the focus on tools and materials in this edition.
Totally agree. Like, imagine if you could incorporate a basilisk eye into a potion of petrification, or weave a displacer beast's tentacles into a cloak of invisibility.
Yeah, that's cool.
Or what if you used a fire giant's heart
Oh, yeah.
to forge a sword that burns with an eternal flame? Like, the narrative potential is huge.
It's awesome. So how do we fix this?
We got to get creative. We got to homebrew some solutions.
Right. Let's brainstorm. How do we bring those monster parts into the crafting system?
All right. Well, one idea is to work with your DM to come up with a system for assigning gold values to those monster parts. So essentially, you'd be able to trade in those trophies
Oh, that's cool.
for raw materials.
So it encourages people to think about, like, okay, what am I going to salvage?
Right. What's valuable? What can I use?
What can I use to make something
Yeah.
cool?
And it gives you a tangible reward for taking down those powerful creatures.
And the DM could take it even further. Right. They
But you
could
could.
flavor magic items based on those parts.
That would be awesome. So, for example, let's say you've got a wand of magic missile that's been crafted with red dragon wormling parts. Now, instead of shooting out those typical blue sparks,
Right.
it shoots out these tiny fiery darts.
Ooh, I love that.
Right, or maybe it has a fiery aesthetic, deals fire damage instead of force damage. It's all about adding those little touches that make crafting feel truly unique and immersive.
So listeners, talk to your DMs. Let's bring those monster parts into the game. Let's make crafting more exciting.
Let's make it awesome.
Let's do it. But for now, we get to take a quick break. We'll be back with more insights and a wrap-up in just a moment. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground here, from basic swords to wands that shoot tiny fire darts.
Oh yeah, we've been on quite a crafting journey.
Yeah. But before we send you off to go build your own legendary gear, let's just take a minute, recap some key takeaways about crafting in D&D 5e's 2024 edition.
I think one of the biggest things that stands out is just how accessible and streamlined crafting is now.
Yeah, it's way easier to understand than it used to be.
Right. The rules are clear. They're tied directly to item cost and tool proficiencies.
Yeah, and it really feels like the designers wanted crafting to be a bigger part of the game,
Oh, for sure.
not just something that, like, a few characters could do.
Right, exactly. So whether you're making those everyday items or diving into the world of magic items, the process is just more intuitive, more fun, I think, for everyone involved.
Yeah, and I, for one, am very happy to see those old, vague, like, gold per day rules gone.
Oh, good riddance.
Trying to figure out how long it took to craft something.
It was like a headache waiting to happen.
Yeah. But now you know exactly how long it takes, how much it will cost.
What tools you need.
It's all right there, easy peasy.
And the fact that every background now gives you at least one tool proficiency, that's huge.
Yeah, I love that.
Crafting's not just for the blacksmiths and alchemists anymore.
Yeah, it opens it up.
Exactly. So like
Yeah.
that noble with calligrapher's supplies, they can make scrolls. That soldier with leatherworking tools can craft some awesome enchanted armor.
It's awesome. And it really makes you think about your character's background in a whole new way. Right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like no matter what your background is, you can find a way to tie it into crafting. It adds so much depth to character development.
Then players aren't limited to just finding magic items anymore.
Right, they can make their own.
If you want to be a master blacksmith, forging legendary weapons.
No, go for it. But we can't forget about the dungeon master in all of this.
Right, the DM still plays a huge role.
Right, absolutely. They have the final say on whether you can actually find those rare materials for powerful magic items.
It's all about balance, right?
Yeah, you want players to feel empowered to craft,
Yeah.
but you don't want the world to be flooded with legendary artifacts.
Right, exactly.
The DM gets to decide how challenging they want crafting to be.
And they could really tie it into the story too, right? Like imagine a whole quest centered around finding a rare material for crafting.
Oh, that would be so cool. Like a journey to the elemental plane of fire to find, I don't know, like a phoenix feather or something.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
It turns crafting into this epic adventure.
It's not just a mechanic, it's part of the narrative.
Exactly. And of course, we got to mention those special cases, potions, and scrolls. They're so easy to craft now,
Yeah, super accessible.
so players can really make use of them.
A well-timed potion or scroll can totally change the game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Imagine a rogue, like with a bag full of smoke bombs and a bunch of scrolls. They'd be unstoppable.
Right. It opens up so many tactical options for players.
So I want to leave you with a final thought here. Yeah. Now that you know all about crafting in the 2024 edition,
Yeah.
what kind of crazy, awesome items are you going to make?
Yeah, what are you going to create?
Are you going to forge a legendary sword? Maybe brew a potion that grants you, like, the wisdom of ages?
Or craft an artifact that can unlock some ancient prophecy.
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
So get out there, talk to your DMs, and get crafting.
And don't forget about those monster parts. See what you can cook up with those.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into crafting. We hope you learned some cool new stuff and are feeling inspired to get creative at your next game.
Happy crafting, everyone.
See you next time.